Welcome, Spartans, to Halo TV Plus, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host, Oran, and on Halo TV Plus, my guests and I recap Halo's original television show, Halo the Series, and we discuss its content and unique canon within the Silver Timeline. Joining me tonight for a retrospective episode roundtable discussion on Season 2, I have Colin, my guest from episode Sword.
I am the Blessed One.
I have Steve, my guest from Visegrad.
The comms are down.
And Aaron from Onyx.
I'm not good under pressure to come up with a bit.
Welcome, fellas. Welcome back to the show. You guys have been on those respective shows while we were watching Season 2. Some of you were on for our Season 1 coverage back when it came out. How are we feeling? We got a big episode ahead of us, a lot to discuss about Season 2. What are you guys feeling great?
It was an emotional journey.
Very emotional. Yeah.
Yes.
Like so talk about that, Steve. Is it emotional because you're like not sure how they're going to do it? Or is it like because you're excited?
It's emotional with the things that happened in universe, as well as emotional as a viewer dealing with the quality and content of the show itself.
Yeah.
You know, we've had some questionable moments as far as what are they doing with this story, or maybe what are they doing with the production, and then somehow we ended up getting mostly where we needed to be, I think.
Yeah.
But boy, what a way we got there.
Yeah, we did arrive at where we really wanted to get there. I know there's a lot of conversation at the beginning of the season when we heard the episode titles, and I was even on the boat where I was like, I can see them looking up out of the viewport and we just seeing the Halo and that being the end. And everyone wanted us to actually be feet on the ground, and we actually got it. So we kind of took a lot of weird left turns and over and unders, and we eventually got there.
We got feet on the ground, and we got a little business happening on the ground, too, which I remember you guys
so
talking
good.
about when you're trying to predict, like, how is it going to flow into the Halo? We actually got some action on the Halo, too.
I think I mentioned this on the episode where there was a moment where the camera was kind of doing this sweeping landscape, and I literally, outwardly said, is this really the end? And they just kind of get here, look at the distance, and then that's the end of the episode. And then it just kind of kept going, and I was like, oh, okay, we got a little bit to do before.
You looked at the bottom of the screen and saw there was still enough minutes left on the episode.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, let me do some housekeeping, and then we'll continue this conversation and kind of talk about what we liked, what we didn't like of Season 2 and everything in between. If you're just joining us and you missed our coverage during the season's release, Halo TV Plus covered each episode of Season 2 with 2 episodes, a commentary where we watched the episode while discussing it, and an analysis episode where we dove deeper into events and characters of the episode, as well as speculated on what was to come. It's all available on your favorite podcasting service, so you can go check them out. You can also check them out on our website, evolvedhalo.com. or halopodcast.com. It also features the other shows that Evolved produces, like Podcast Evolved, HCS Pro Talk, Mission Debrief, Builds with Blocks, and Halo Book Club. There's also another show called I Would Have Been Your Podcast for our patrons, if you're subscribed. If you're not a patron and you want to learn more what it means to be a patron, you can head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved to learn more. Patrons also receive a variety of other exclusive rewards, such as early episodes, access to our original 18-song soundtrack, unique swag, our private Discord channel, and more. Shout out to our current subscribers. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support us and keeping the lights on.
You guys rock.
They do rock. And I even have some of them are from patrons, but at the end of the episode, I will share some thoughts from the community. I reached out to them this past week, and you guys will be able to contribute to our conversation. So we'll check out that towards the end of our general discussion.
Speaking of rock, I got that Craig Rock t-shirt in the mail. It's pretty rad. Have you guys seen that? On the Halo store?
That's the Brute, the Craig Brute?
Yeah, so it's got like a brute hand, like given the the rock symbol or whatever with his 2 fingers up. And then on the back it has all of the levels from Halo Infinite. It's pretty cool.
There's also like a giant boulder somewhere in Infinite that's like shaped like his face.
Yes. You find like a little tribute, like you find an album.
There's a couple. There's a couple tributes.
Yeah, there's a few Easter eggs. There's one on top of, what is it, Outpost
tower?
Tremorius, maybe?
Yeah.
Or the tower. Yeah, the tower where that elite is. Yeah, there's like a big sort of like rock concert stage, I think, at the top of that.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
That was one of the ones I found. Well, awesome. Well, cool. Let's dive in. It's been a week since the season 2 finale. Whoever wants to speak up first, like what's kind of that one thing that's just been in the back of your head this past week, whether it's from the finale or something from an earlier episode? What has been itching away on your mind since the finale aired last week?
I want to hear Aaron's thoughts.
Oh, God, I have lots of thoughts.
On the spot.
On the spot. Where's my ODSTs? Why did we merge Spartan 3s, Spartan 4s, and ODSTs into one ball? And why could that entire fight scene in episode 10 not have been drop pods being shot at Covenant ships with ODSTs and super armor? What? It just, I don't know. Bit weird.
I mean, we could have gotten a nice little Black Daggers cameo with that too.
We could have had anything. We absolutely could have had Perez has made it off reach. We're gonna, virtually train her up to be an ODST now instead of a Marine. Off you go with the rest of them, and Kai can go with you, and it's great. By the way, here's a team of other Spartans. They're Spartan 3s, and you could have made all those guys Spartan 4s later. Here's your Mirage armor. It's not as good as these Spartan 3s over here, but it'll be close enough. And, just kill all the Spartan 3s like they're stormtroopers. It probably would have been fine.
You think they maybe burned the Spartan 3 concept too early?
Yeah, they burned it too early, and they basically didn't,
Other than what they got going on with Kessler.
Yeah, they didn't augment them. They threw them into the Spartan 4s. They're not augmented. Mm-hmm. And here's your suit of stormtrooper armor.
Or we could at least assume they're not augmented just off of what we saw.
Yeah.
They didn't really say it one way or the other. We didn't see anybody out of armor with scars or anything. They just kind of ran at it. But who knows if come season 3 we get a little more explanation on the Spartan 3 program, if there's any left. And it turns out they were augmented and it was just crappy augments or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they could play the juicer sort of element that you get with some of the I think the Gammas and the Spartan 3 company, and that you can kind of play on that and tug that storyline.
I don't know. I think it was a weird choice to blow so many cool things on what was essentially the weirdest battle strategy, which was we're gonna fling condors and throw Spartans through space at ships. I know it's basically the SAM mission on a big scale, but it's a weird. Yeah,
it's Silent Storm.
Yeah, it's a weird strategy.
Or I thought it was, or is that not Red Flag?
No, this is it's sort of the same. It's kind of like SAM, the mission
Storm?
where they lose SAM, where they breach the ship through the hole, which is also like the Silent Storm thing of we dump the Spartans in orbit, and they're gonna, and they're gonna they're gonna hit the ship and board it that way, but it's not a in Silent Storm, it's not a strategy they're really using in the heat of battle. You're not pulling up in your Condor and going, right, everyone out, launch them like torpedoes. It's, that's a weird way to do it, which is why I think the drop pods would have made sense. I know they did that bit where Kai's their targeting systems can target our ships, but they're much poorer at targeting smaller things. And you could have absolutely just had one line of dialogue with this is a cloaked stealth frigate, and we're going to shoot you out of the ass of it. Here we go, and then launch them into space.
Or the ODST pods have other sort of shielding or UAV,
or
anti-UAV technology.
If you were going really mad, you'd be actually, we're going to launch you in slip space in the pods, and just have a scene of Kai roaring and shouting, having a great time while all the ODSTs are puking in their pods. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it's just, that was the weirdest thing that stuck to me the whole episode. And funny, I thought the flood would be the thing that I would find the weirdest in the whole episode, but no, it was that.
That was surprisingly tame.
So, Aaron, you would have preferred to have a little bit more of the variety of soldiers. You would have your Spartan 2s, your 3s, your ODSTs, and then kind of have all of them fighting together and kind of doing their own specialization independently of each other. You kind of wanted a little bit more of that sort of dynamic incorporated into the show.
I think the way this episode went, we didn't need the Spartan 3s or Onyx at all. they could have absolutely done this episode with Spartan 2s and ODSTs and saved the Spartan 3s for the next season. Like, that could have been the other storyline going on.
Do
because, like,
ODSTs fly through space like that, or do they, or they at least launch their pods from a frigate to a Covenant ship? Like, do they do, or they? Because I thought ODSTs.
I don't know about the pods, but when they were doing the, Spartan 2s and the Black Daggers, they absolutely were. They were going in as whole.
yeah,
right.
You could do it. Like, I know the pods are orbital pods, but they do have thrusters and rockets on them. Like, I don't see a theory, or like, it's very easy to tweak this.
But the ODSTs can't be in space. Like, their gear isn't made for that.
They do have space armor, though, yeah.
In Silent Storm, they all had space assault armor. Johnson had it as well. They were all running alongside with Master Chief.
I think the only time they don't have that concept is in Contact Harvest when Johnson first meets him. I think he's in a regular spacesuit, but like, you could totally have like Space Marine suits. Like, that wouldn't be. Or
I could get technical though on why the drop pod thing probably wouldn't work. Because you got to figure those drop pods are made to not penetrate into the ground. They're supposed to just hit and stop, so that way you can actually get out of it. So it's, blunt bottom end rather than something made to pierce and go through. So I could see that not working against piercing at shielded enemy ships.
if we had, when they're throwing shit at the wall with a show, like, you could very easily write out we've actually developed a new breaching pod, here we go, and it's literally going to smash through the side of the Covenant ship and fling you into the corridor.
We just need a lot more exposition for.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, it didn't take a lot, and we had Perez there. Like, she absolutely could have been our dialogue sort of cipher to be like, okay, what are we doing, and have Kai explain it to her. Like, that would have taken 2 minutes of an episode and would have been quite cool. One briefing scene before they go into space to go.
Well, I mean, they effectively did that as the Spartan 3s. So you just wanted that twist, kind of, just with the.
I just think it was a weird way to blow those Spartan 3s. Like, that whole thing seems a bit weird, I think. And still the fact.
I mean, they still exist. Like, they're not.
Well, we still had whatever was going on with Kessler.
Yeah, it seems like they're just putting ordinary folks in suits. Like, that really seems to be it. It's just like, here's a suit of armor, and it's not Spartan 3s. Like, Spartan 3s are almost as good as Spartan 2s.
I wonder if the showrunners came to a point where they're discussing, like, we have so many different factions, for lack of a better term, of, like, groups that we need to focus on and differentiate from one another. Maybe they just didn't want to add another additional one with the ODSTs. We've got Spartan 2s, we've got Spartan 3s, we've got regular UNSC, we've got ONI, we've got the different splits within the Covenant. We've got the insurrectionists. I mean, at some point, how many more groups do we need to keep track of? Like, as fans, we love that. But maybe showrunners trying to appeal to the broader audience are like, let's keep it a little bit simpler, not dump too much in all at once.
I think that argument kind of makes sense to me, but then why bring Spartan 3s into it at all? We could have just had ODSTs. Like, that's the thing, and like, they did a very poor job, like, this season of explaining any real factions within the Covenant. Like, you have no idea of anything. You don't know, is there a great schism, is there not, what's going on, who's with who. Like, you literally see no one except the Arbiter and Kai the entire time. You're like, where the fuck are the Prophets? Are they just like, or McKee, sorry, I was like, are they just chilling? Are the Prophets just like having a wee smoke somewhere and relaxing? What's going on? Where's Atriox after his 30-second cameo in season 1? Like, I don't know. For, like, streamlining and keeping the plot simple, they make some weird decisions with, like, picking unnecessarily complex stuff.
Well, they did keep. I think the tie-in to the main canon was with Ackerson and the Spartans 3. So maybe they felt the need, because they were building that character of Ackerson and who he was, and kind of a little bit of a power struggle, and especially kind of the dynamic between him and Halsey. Him saying, hey, these are my versions of the Spartans.
It's consistent with the core canon.
Yeah.
Like, everybody in power in the UNSC or in ONI that we're introduced to in the canon is very possessive of their unit, their division, whatever branch that they have authority and responsibility for, and they take that very personally. It's established quite often, so I think that was covered well with this particular case.
And I said it in our chats during the course of the season, but this season, more than the first season, really felt like they put all the lore
Yes.
in a blender, right? This is like, okay, here's all the stuff. We're gonna
Blend.
hit I don't know, puree.
They heard
whatever
that
comes
there
out.
wasn't enough Halo stuff in season 1. They're like, you want Halo stuff? We'll give you Halo stuff. We don't know how we're going to do it, but here.
Yeah. No, there is a lot of overlapping that they do throughout the season. And yeah, Colin, you and I were talking about it, and I've talked with some of the other guests on other episodes. And yeah, I think that is true. Just for lack of a better word, like they just blended it all together and just streamlined it to make it quote unquote easier for the average viewer to kind of get these different points, while also trying to appease the fans by, hey, look, we have all these layers because we doubled and tripled up on things. And so it's kind of interesting to think about how far left or right that might have been leaning towards fan service versus story progression and all that. But I think in the end of it, I just hope they continue developing the Spartan 3s because yeah, it basically they jumped to Spartan 4s, but they couldn't call them 4s without saying 3s because we have the 2s, and your ODST kind of doesn't really exist right now.
Which I think they'll have to bring in ODSTs at some point. I mean, they're just too cool.
Refresh my memory on something important. Do they ever actually establish Master Chief and company as Spartan 2s, like early on at any point? Do they just call them Spartans?
I'm more than certain they've said Spartan 2s.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but
Yeah, it's just not
It's
clicking
come up.
anywhere in my memory for some reason.
they,
and that's
they
making me
have to have
question
had,
it.
like I don't know. That is a good question, but they have
Because
to.
at no point we've had any discussion about, well, what happened to the Spartan 1s in this timeline.
Not that I remember. It might have been touched on, but I don't in the first season, but I don't remember.
I think they probably do that I can't remember because, like, they definitely wouldn't go with calling the rest Spartan 3s, I think, without. I'm sure it's been mentioned at some point.
Yeah. I mean, and this is kind of a question for Oran. Like, there's so much in here, right? And they're having to pace themselves to a degree. They need to give certain Halo things, I don't know, I guess a little bit of breathing room. But they can't give it everything, you know, like they're probably coming in at it and saying, okay, well, we got, I don't know, maybe 5 seasons at the most, maybe more if things continue to go well. So like, what can we cram into these 8-9 episodes, you know, to make it feel like all of the elements are in place and they all make sense because we've given enough exposition and things like that. So I would imagine that's part of the challenge, right, Oran?
To a degree, I mean, I think when they're developing a season, like for season 2, the conversation probably was, we want to do the Fall of Reach and we want to end with
Right.
the Halo. And how do we kind of get through the Fall of Reach and then end up on the Halo? And then they start plugging in different elements, either whether it's core canon or their own Silver timeline because of what they've already established. And just during that development process, they can only pick and choose so much because they can't cram everything in there because it's not going to make sense because of the Silver timeline that they have. So they have to devote time to develop things their own way and deliberately make a departure from the core canon in order for the story to make any sort of cohesion, to have any sort of cohesion between what they've already established and where they want to go. So, and yeah, just to kind of wrap up, I guess, this point about the Spartans and the ODSTs, like that decision was made to just make it more streamlined and easier for the viewer to just understand. And like, yeah, did they miss some marks that they could have incorporated from core canon? Of course, they did that on almost every other aspect because that's just the nature of adaptation. So yeah, for season 3, whatever they decide to do, it'll be, you know, we want these major events to happen and we want it to end at this point. How do we get there? And they have core canon and Silver timeline, and they have to just merge them together in whatever way they feel is the best way to do so.
And I think they need to be able to do that without trapping themselves in a box that prevents them from being able to continue to pull from the core canon because they set up a contradictory plot point within the show.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, so it's a fine line that the showrunners have to dance.
I think they're doing a decent enough job of like kind of pulling all the Halo stuff, and again, the blender thing. At least there's things that are recognizable. I think kind of from here forward, it's gonna be hard though to like say, okay, this is a completely different timeline. They've done so many things that are different now. Like Keys is gone, like, and he's a big part of like this section of Halo CE, and they're gonna have to replace him with something and all that sort of stuff. I feel like it's going to be hard for us to detach ourselves from the core canon, the games and the books and everything moving forward. I think we're going to get the most frustrated if they add some random thing in as an explanation versus continuing to kind of merge things that exist but make them fit within the silver
Don't just
timeline.
give us a MacGuffin.
Yeah, exactly, which we kind of already have, with the Blessed One and those artifacts. Like that obviously isn't, core canon. It's that's the MacGuffin.
I mean, even the Halo itself is kind of a MacGuffin right now, since we don't really have all of the explanation of it just yet, or at least the general audience that's not familiar with the lore.
Right. I'm most interested to see what they do with McKee, and what is going to happen in the next season. With him chasing down her. Now they added 343 Guilty Spark into the mix. And he's going to ally with her, right? That makes sense because the Flood is a thing. And 343 is like, yep, let's get rid of these Flood. Here you go. Come on, follow me.
She wants to fire the Halo. A wants to fire the Halo. Right. John kind of doesn't really want to fire the Halo, so the Monitor's gonna put up some resistance. I think she fights some Sentinels on the way. Some
Sentinels will show up
to that scene with the Monitor, and that's why he's so much more beat up by the time we see him in that final dialogue scene. Because that's also, McKee's got no strength, no speed. She's just basically a human. She's got no armor. So how's she going to make her way through this facility faster than our super soldier friend? He needs to hit, like, walls of some sort so that way she can stay ahead of him.
You just wait till you find out where the Covenant installed plasma swords in McKee. That's going to be the fun thing in this episode. When she plays the library level by herself.
Fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah. So, Colin, you mentioned McKee. Like, I think McKee's kind of one of your least favorite parts of the season from kind of our internal conversation. Do you want to dive into that a little bit more, or?
I don't mind her. I mean, she's the representation of the Covenant. I think from like a budget standpoint, they had to go this route. Because anytime you do see, like, I do like seeing the Covenant and the Sangheili dialogue, but it is still a little bit awkward. When you think of other sci-fi, you think of Star Wars, you think of Star Trek, and the dialogue with the alien race it's a human. It's practical effects, it's makeup and all that sort of stuff. So for Halo specifically, you really you have to lean on CG to have that other side of the coin. So anytime you see those interactions, that dialogue happening, you're having to read subtitles because they're speaking Sangheili. I feel like that's a little bit exhausting for the audience. So I feel like it makes sense that McKee exists. I'm still just the whole Blessed One. The fact that they just brought her back and they didn't really explain it. They kind of explained it. The Arbiter healed her somehow, or he saved her.
It just said he saved her. He didn't say heal. He didn't say nothing. They gave us no explanation.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat that one.
I feel like when they were writing season 2, they were like, "Oh fuck, we kind of need her." So,
like, what was wrong about a 10-second blurry flashback of like a prophet doing something with a light above her? Like,
the season opened with that for Chief.
Exactly. Yeah, Chief got a 10-second blurry flashback for how Cortana got removed out of his head. So,
well, I know they wanted the mystery of is she still alive, but like, we could have had like the scene of both intertwined. Like, we still could have done that. I don't know.
Or the last episode. The last episode, right after we get reintroduced to McKee this season, right at the end of the episode, they could have done like the stinger of like the panning back off of her on the equivalent of a hospital table or some sort, whatever was happening for her. Like the way we were introduced to John, they could have introduced McKee in the episode and then ended with that just to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like the Arbiter going, or not the Arbiter, like one of the prophets turning to someone else and going like, activate the holy machine, you know, and just something that looked
The
a
holy
bit
machine.
forerunnery with a light on it. Like, that's all we needed.
Or even just grab her. We still need her.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's a blessed one, so somehow she's harder to kill or something. I don't know. I feel like they're going to have to, from an audience standpoint, they're going to have to explain what the blessed ones really mean. Because it's and I hope it's not cringy, because it's getting to the point where, especially this next season, you know, again, it's going to be the chase down between, you know, Chief and McKee, and they're the only two blessed ones, and they can interact with everything, and they're even saying at the end of the last episode, they're like, Cortana's like, I forget exactly what she was saying, but she was more like, this ring is here for you, like this was made for you. It's like, what is happening? Like that was never the case.
Well, Halsey also believes that as well. Like, that was one of the things that Halsey told John. Like, you need to get to the, you know, like, this Covenant war is meaningless. It is so irrelevant. You need to be at the ring. Like, this thing was created so long ago, and you have an innate ability and connection with it. Like, ignore literally everything, and you need to go to this calling.
Yeah, it needs to be you. It's a little bit too much Neo, you know, like you're the chosen one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much Anakin Skywalker. It's like, we don't need John to be Anakin Skywalker.
It wasn't just him, too, though. Like, Halsey kind of sort of implied after she realized that the DNA down in that lab, or, you know, the bits that she found was human and Forerunner, she implied that the people she pulled for the Spartan 2 program had traces of that DNA. Like, not just John. She's like, we searched the galaxy for these people. So it's kind of implied that at least a bunch of the other Spartan 2 program, if not all of it, was built off of people with this trace Forerunner DNA. Does McKee have this DNA?
They couldn't interact with the artifact, though. Remember, they proved that out in season 1.
That's where I'm going with this, though. So how many people that have the Forerunner DNA can or can't interact with this? They've added, like, another point of stipulation in trying to explain it.
Yeah, I feel like they were doing a good job to explain it in that, yes, the people capable of being Spartans are also the people capable of interacting with Forerunner tech, and then you go and you pull that and go, actually, it's just John, the chosen one. You're like, either they all are or they aren't. Like, if you had to turn around and said to me, McKee would have been a Spartan had she been left in human civilization and been like, all these people can interact with this shit, like, that would be, I get that makes sense. Okay, we don't need every human to be a reclaimer. We just need the ones
this
with
very
the edge.
limited population that took really high tech science and naval, you know, military backing to be able to track down and find. That would have made perfect sense. And then they made the other Spartan 2s not able to do anything with it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they give us exposition, and then other times they're terrified to give us anything, and you're like, what's the game rules here? What are we working with, or what are we not? Is John the only chosen one? Do John and McKee have to breed the generation of reclaimers? How's this gonna work?
And that's kind of what I meant when I said they're trapping themselves in a box before by trying to get too blendery with everything.
I mean, I love Charlie Murphy's rendition, her depiction of McKee. Like, I don't have a problem with how she's on screen and portraying it, and like her saying Healy's amazing. I feel like her energy, all that stuff's good. It's just like the way that the character has been written, and what they're expecting from the character is it's not great.
It's a little awkward. Like, and even her presence in season 2 has been awkward. And I think I said it in one of the other episodes that, like, I feel like they should have had her be a little bit more present, even if we only see her side of the conversation or the action. But like they really like led her on, like, ooh, she's back, kind of, sort of, what is she doing? And it was like too much mystery too late. And it just you should have gave us some motivation and stakes earlier in the season to kind of give her a little bit more purpose and have the audience be a little bit more along for the ride for what she's doing and the Arbiter is doing. And I feel like that would have given a better payoff and kind of moved the story in a more like a smooth way.
Well, and they explained it through dialogue with the Arbiter, right? So like the Arbiter, like they explained, so the fact that the Arbiter exists seems to be in line with core canon, right? They did explain that. And then at some point, the Arbiter said that the prophets more or less gave McKee to him to like he's like watching after her. And so he has this mission. I guess his mission though is to find the Halo, right? Like that's what the Prophet. But they never had that conversation with the Prophets, and so I don't know if that was CG budget thing or what. But maybe even having, we talked about that blurry flashback or like something where the Prophets are actually interacting with the Arbiter. The Arbiter just kind of shows up in this season, and hopefully the audience was able to understand why he's there. But I could also see how that's confusing.
I think part of it ties into the fact that in season 1, towards the end, we do get shown that like the Prophets really don't give a damn about McKee. Like they're just using her as a tool to get to the Halo. Mm-hmm. And after everything that happened in season 1, they're probably like, this girl's not worth our trouble the way that we just went through all this crap. Give her to the Arbiter. We don't want to deal with the Arbiter either. They're both a bunch of troublemakers. Let's just put them out of sight, out of mind. And if he figures it out, great.
Yep. That's a good point. Yeah, but they didn't tell us that. Like, we had to come to that conclusion.
No, they didn't tell us that. I feel like it was just ever so slightly implied. You had to be paying attention to the exposition in season 1 to tie it into season 2. And the 2-year gap between season 1 and season 2 didn't help.
Sure.
Steve, what would be the one thing that's kind of stuck in your mind after season 2 in its entirety?
Ah, man. So, I love that they're tying right back into core canon and doing a lot of adjacent things. I like that we're still getting a lot of our juicy moments. I think we're going to get our Keys moment from CE in season 3 with the way they set up Parangovsky at the end of season 2. That's one of the neurons that's just firing in my brain right now is I want to see maybe Parangovsky get her skull bashed in the way Keys did. Even though Parangovsky's amazing, I love her as a character in the core canon. She's great in the Silver timeline, even if we don't know what the hell happened with her either being in Oni or not being in Oni this season. They never explain that. I know she's supposed to stick around and do more fucked up Oni shit for lots of the Halo timeline, but we got robbed of our Keys moment, so they might be giving it back to us. Between that and where we left off with Halsey, those are like that's where I'm really stuck on for this season.
In what way with Halsey? Just the fact that they imply that she's going to become the part of the Flood and that they cryo sleep her?
So we talked about this in our chat, but I'll just drop it all here now that Halsey getting infected on the neck was a huge missed opportunity. They should have infected her on the arm, and then we could have gotten our later core Halo game moment where they just lop off her arm to stop the infection. We could have gotten our Halsey without an arm, which would have been a great bit of fan service. It also would have been a solution to her getting infected without now needing to either come up with some sort of cure, which begs the question, can't we just cure anybody else that gets infected if they're not too far gone? That kind of defeats the purpose of the Halos in a way. So like it opens up Pandora's box by having Halsey be infected like on the neck right there. You can't really remove it. I mean, what do we do with that at this point?
Wait until the middle of season 3 when Chief comes across a big room with a giant monolith and Cortana goes, "This is a composer."
Yeah, something like that.
And then we have to explain created Halsey.
Or my theory alternatively is that we end up getting our created rebellion at some point and they have to use actual Halsey rather than a cloned bit of Halsey's brain to create new Cortana, the weapon.
The only problem I have with that, now I know it's grand, but are there any other fucking AIs in this universe? Does the Silver timeline only have Cortana? We literally have, like, the Spartan prep room where a wee guy's on a balcony sliding cards in and out. Like, sometimes it feels like we're in a weird World War II version of Halo. We're in, like, the Eagle Strike armor fucking fracture tank.
Steampunk Halo.
Yeah, and then you're like, are there any other AIs? Like, any at all? Even if I saw a scene where I saw little blue holograms, you know, on desks or pedestals around the place or walking about. But, like, it seems like Cortana is literally the only AI they have. And that's the vibe I got for the way Halsey talked about her.
We get so much, like, mixed era technology business going on in this show. Let's not forget season 1, Madrigal having, like, current day Earth vehicles, 10, 15-year-old gasoline-powered Earth vehicles just cruising around, Chevy Tahoes and what have you.
Yeah, but that you could kind of headcanon that in the sense that these guys don't have the technology and the support that the UNSC has, and it's a off-beaten outer colony planet, like it could just be behind on whatever technology. Because I mean, to a degree, you have that in the world today. Like some parts of the Earth don't have the latest and greatest technology or developments than other parts of the world.
I mean, we could also use that same explanation for the UNSC not having the best technology in all of their facilities as well. Even in core canon, distribution of new tech was a bit of a problem. We did develop a lot of technical advancements that would help beat the Covenant, but a lot of it didn't start getting distributed until late in the war because the supply line was so messed up.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder about some things like that. It just is, they establish weird things. Like,
I want consistency.
Yeah, a little bit. Just some explanation here and there would be nice. Did anyone notice, did I miss it, or did they, I never got back to watch it, but during the battle, did we get a name drop for Admiral Stanforth?
I thought we did.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's a name I
Yeah.
recognize. We're going to see nothing from it. I thought we'd have a face in the space battle or something, and then, no, we didn't get anything. Yeah, I felt like no stakes in that space battle whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, yep, we're just watching the Pillar of Autumn's clone get destroyed over and over and over.
I mean, I'll take it for the juicy action that it gave us. We needed that good old-fashioned Halo shooty alien action.
Yeah, but like, one scene from the Mac gun's point of view shooting holes in a Covenant ship would have been nice. Like, just like spend a little bit of the
Completely agree.
CG budget. You know, anything. Like, I need that sort of like stormtroopers, you know, I need Marines firing fucking point guns and shit. I know it's all a bit expensive, but like, I need something.
Do we get that next season though? A little bit, like maybe that's the lead in at the beginning of next season.
I feel like the fleet's destroyed at this stage. I don't know. Like, whoever comes to rescue Kai will be whoever does the next thing. But then again, I'm gonna guess that's gonna be everyone that escaped from Reach.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fleet's destroyed, but I feel like they can open the season with like, here's the space battle, and like just kind of catching people up a little bit, and then all of a sudden people are some survivors are crashing down to the Halo along with Covenant survivors, and that sets up all the chaos that's going to happen on the ring in the season.
I'm really hoping that the generally more positive reviews for this season over last season would lend to hopefully a higher budget for next season, and then maybe we start getting more of those little juicy CGI tidbits.
Well, I heard. So, did you guys watch the after show at all? Any of those?
I watched some. I didn't watch the last one yet.
During those, and who knows if they're telling the truth or not. I would assume they are, but a lot of the CG or the special effects people, practical effects people, explosion people, they were saying like, no one's ever done this before. So I feel like they did throw a decent amount of money at the show, but maybe that was more for the practical effects versus the CG, which is what you're mentioning.
Yeah, they did spend a ton of time showing like the practical effects for Flood and everything like that. Mm-hmm. All the little facial boils and what have you. There was a lot of time put into that and choreography for that with all of those actors that needed to just be in the background, twitching and being weird, but looking messed up.
Yeah. And Kiki did say in another interview that, like, specifically for the Fall of Reach, which this kind of can segue into our next conversation, is like the reason that event was mostly contained into a single episode was for budgetary reasons. And it just kind of begs the question, and it's like, well, how, it's easy
how
for
good
us
could
to
it
kind
have
of
been?
Or like it's easy for us to say who aren't privy to all the complications that go into just making any type of TV show. But like if the Fall of Reach is like such an iconic thing, like how are you not able to maybe get whatever money or reallocate it to do it in a quote unquote better way? Mm-hmm. But that's just kind of what it was. They just got more money for episode 4, so they pumped a lot of it into the fact that it's the Fall of Reach. And then you get your action in episode 1, you get your action in episode 8, and then everything in between, you just kind of probably have a more baseline budget, and you got to do your stunts or your effects within those confines. But your opener and your finale tend to have just higher base budgets because you want them to be more of a spectacle.
They do, but I feel like we've established like CG space battles for a while. Like I didn't need to have any real people in them, but I just wish we'd thrown a little bit more at that. It's a bit unfortunate. By the way, just while I'm thinking about the space battle, do we think Kai's alive at the end of that episode or not? Like she's doing the
June question mark.
Well, no, she's literally doing like the Halo Infinite floating in space pose. Like, do we think we pick up season 3 with Soren fishing her in through the airlock?
Yeah, I'm saying June because when he got launched out of the Spartan training facility, was just floating around for a while. And like, yeah, June was out there even without air for a little bit. And he still survived. What a resilient guy. Like, I'm thinking they might do that with Kai.
I think so, because they didn't show any visible like damage to her armor, did they? Like if they showed like her arm missing or something like that, then you would assume that she was dead, but they left it open.
I think they definitely left it open, and I really hope she comes back because she's, I think, one of my favorite characters. And so I would really hope that there's a spot for her. I can see her not coming back just because of the way the story is unfolding, but I just hope that she's still alive.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see them meet up with Perez and a couple of people and like rescue Miranda and do all that, but that's maybe more season 3 like plots.
Speaking of just overall in deaths, like we got a fair amount of deaths this season. I should have looked to see how many people died or characters died in season 1, but definitely more casualties, especially bigger characters. Is there any one that you guys, I guess, felt the most attached to, or ones that you think that were just complete waste, or what are kind of your guys' overall opinions on the multiple deaths that happened this season?
It was almost starting to feel a little bit Game of Thronesy, like not to that degree, but I was like, oh, they're killing off Parangoski, and they killed off Halsey, they killed off Keyes,
Liara,
like
Keyes earlier.
They killed
Keyes
off Vanek,
and like in the span of 2 minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think the killing off Keyes was the moment where I went, oh, shit might go all over the place. I did not like the way Vanek went out.
Yeah, no.
I don't like to see a Spartan die out of armor. Like, it's just not. It's not the same. I don't know.
True.
He should have died fighting
at the same time, though. I feel like having him not in armor almost gives you a way to kill him because the fact that he's not in armor. Like, it's harder to kill the Spartan when they're in armor.
Yeah, I agree. I think the showrunners use the in and out of armor just to do more to establish the strengths and vulnerabilities of the Spartans. Because if they're in their armor and then they get hurt, then like how much of a badass Spartan really are they?
I remember when in the season 1 of Reckoning, when you have Kai kind of after she removes her pellet and she's still getting used to it and she sees the carnage on the battlefield, like there's a moment where she's just like basically standing there or keeling over and like the Covenant just keeps shooting at her and her energy shields are blinking, and I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm like, well, if this is the game, she'd already be dead. And so like they kind of play that with some liberties, so I feel like pulling them out of the armor and killing him, we don't want him out of the armor, and that death was kind of bad from a sense that we care about him, but at the same time it almost makes sense to kill him because he's not in armor, he's vulnerable.
No, but I feel like it would have been like maybe good like setup for the Arbiter fight at the end if he had fought the Arbiter in armor and lost. Like, it would have set up the Arbiter as a badass, and you would have been like, oh fuck, Vanek couldn't take him in armor. That's just how good Chief is, because Chief kills him on his own. Like, if that fight scene had have been them all fighting away in the corridor and Vanek on the far side who can't get to them, taking the Arbiter on one and getting nerfed with a plasma sword.
It would have been better to watch, but I think doing it this way was more the attempt to make the fall of Reach the tragedy that it's really supposed to be. It's tragic that a Spartan was taken down because he wasn't able to be in his armor and fight at his best.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I didn't know that stabbing people with needle rounds was like a way to go. Why is that not? That needs to be like a new takedown.
Yeah, that's in the core canon.
A new assassination.
Yeah, that needs to be an assassination, yeah.
They've had, like, needle daggers. The Jackals or something had them in some of the books.
Do they explode on... Are they, like, one-use daggers? Like, you stab the dagger and then they super it super combines on itself.
Well, don't they all needle rounds just pop a little
They
bit? It's
do.
when you get enough of
Yeah,
them together
you're
that
right.
they pop bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They don't just completely dissolve or just sit there. You get one needle in there and it does a little.
Yeah, you're right.
The only other one, and I assume it's a budget constraint that we couldn't have a fully kitted out set of Spartans, but like Cobalt's team or death off screen was anticlimactic to like the ultimate. Like, I know it was probably a lot of money to get other suits of armor and get that done, but like, I would have liked to have seen them go out.
Just give us like a little 45-second thing.
Yeah, like, even if it just had been them moving through the forest and we saw them assassinated, it would have been enough, but like...
Just over the shoulder shot and like a shadow and a whoosh and a bang bang or like the sound of an energy sword and that's it.
Give me them walking, patrolling through the woods, talking like, usual blah, 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 and then give me Predator vision.
Maybe even have them talking shit about Silver Team.
Yeah, like that would have been done, yeah. Something like that.
Oh, can you believe they took their pellets out? Something, and then all of a sudden, thump, thump, zoom.
Yep, and they're all gone, and that would have been pretty cool. I enjoyed Parangoski's death. I think I would like to see her be the Proto-Gravemind.
Yeah.
Although, was she fully eaten? Was she a buffet? Do we get a Proto-Gravemind if she's a buffet? How does that work? I don't know.
It didn't look like they were eating her.
Yeah, she seemed to get clambered by like 4 or 5 different people, so...
Building a pile of biomass.
And the Flood knows the intelligence of the hosts that they take over, so as soon as they infect Parangoski, like, the Flood would know that, oh, she holds a lot of secrets, and that's the whole reason why Keyes gets spared, because they see his mind as being just high above everybody else.
If we do this Flood thing of, like, we're having visions and we can see, like, the Ancient Mother and she seems to be, like, existing in the Flood and existing as a Gaish and something else, I would like to see Parangoski come back as, like, the Gravemind's, like, holographic Force Ghost frontman for the Flood for a while. Like, imagine Chief having visions of Parangoski while on the Halo.
Just distorted slightly and shit.
Yeah, and she's giving him shit, and every time she comes back, she's a little grayer and got a little bit more, like...
Has the dual voice channel thing.
Yeah, like, I think that would be cool.
It's like her voice and then the low, rumbly monster voice underneath it.
Yeah, she's a good character. I'd like to see that. I think it'll be really messed up when Liara comes back and, like, tortures Soren emotionally.
Right.
So I'd like to see that.
Did anybody have the oh shit moment, though, with the mother? Was it when they... revealed, right, the Flood and all that, you're like, oh shit. And then I thought back to the first episode when they introduced her. I was like, wait a minute, so is she real? But then all of a sudden she's an apparition and a vision. Like, it seemed like when she was on the planet in episode 1, she was a physical thing, right?
Yeah.
And so are they just using that character to say that she somehow got absorbed into the Flood, or was she this kind of Flood presence the entire time?
I want to spitball something.
Spitball.
So, I think that Earth Mother is the librarian. That's this timeline's version of the librarian. I think Quan's visions of her is like a JS imprint sort of deal going on. And I think because we have this mixture of human and Forerunner DNA, that the librarian's DNA is also seeded throughout a couple of humans directly in the universe. And maybe there are genetic evolutions of her on a couple of planets. You know, that we do. Maybe there are actually physically a couple of these old ladies who are direct descendants of the librarian living on these planets. And they just kind of parallel but aren't 100% directly connected to, like, Quan's visions in her head or whatever.
Hear me out, because...
And then the librarian is just the opposite side of the same coin with the Gravemind, because the Gravemind is going to be, you know, who knows if we get precursors in this, but maybe it'll just be Forerunner is what caused
I
the Flood.
have an alternate theory I want to put and see what you guys think of this.
Let's go.
I think the Vision Mother is actually the same mother, the physical one from episode 1. What if all these chosen family lines are humans that still have access to the domain? And what if that's what Master Chief sets him apart and sets apart everyone else? What if she is actually talking to this person, and what if that's how she can, like, experience all this knowledge from her family lines and knows about the stars and everything else. What if she is actually experiencing the domain and we get an explanation of that later? Like, what if that's what she's experiencing? Like, that would make sense with the, like, Halo 5 sort of, like, vision flashes that Master Chief has.
Would that also mean possibly that these vision scenes on the Halo between Chief and McKee could also possibly have existed within the domain?
That's what I wonder. I think, is that the same thing? Are we going to find out that Chief and McKee touched this piece of equipment and that's what it did because it's Forerunners? We could have Guilty Spark explain that at some point.
I like that. I could dig that. Yeah.
That would be an easy out for all that, and then it's simple. They're all forces that exist within the domain, and then you'd be like, well, how did they stop the flood attack? And you go, well, the domain can exert a little bit of force in the universe because it is something that exists, and it just managed to, like, stop the flood long enough that she didn't get eaten.
Yeah. Where is Quan left? Where is she right now?
She's with Ackerson and Soren on the ship in Kessler.
Okay. And are they near the Halo?
No, they just left Onyx, but they probably don't know where the Halo is. Like, I don't know, unless Ackerson somehow knows, but none of them have the coordinates, I would think.
They knew where they were sending. No, Ackerson knew where they were sending the Spartan 3, so he would know what system it's in. But I think if you were really going to go down that route, I think Ackerson and the rest of them are actually going to be the team that go inside Onyx. They'll rescue Kai, they'll get Miranda, and they'll have to go into Onyx and then, like, see if there's a way to deflood.
But Kai's
Halsey?
by the Halo. She's not by Onyx.
Oh, good point.
So
I was thinking alternatively that Chief doesn't spend all that much time on the Halo.
Don't say that.
Finding out about. Well, no, I think he gets just enough time on the Halo to stop the firing of the Halo, but still needs to stop the larger flood threat. And then he has to go back to Onyx to destroy the Gravemind. And that's when we get him with the keys, Parangovsky punching in the face moment. And at some point he finds out that Halsey and Miranda are down there somewhere and has to go down and rescue them too.
Well, I suppose Perez can rescue Kai. That cures that.
yeah.
But
Also, just a reminder, unless Chief fights the Flood at some point before that dialogue with the Monitor in the finale, he has not seen the Flood yet that we know of.
I feel like that reveal is gonna be cool when he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like, technically, he doesn't even really know, like, the threat is actively happening
Right.
unless it's explained in that dialogue.
I'm guessing Kai's going to, like, fill the role of the Covenant on the ring, and that she's going to have, or not Kai. Why I keep calling her Kai? Why do I
McKee.
keep calling her Kai? McKee. She's going to do the, like, accidentally release the Flood, and that's what Chief's going to have to fight, and that's probably why McKee's not going to have to fight any Flood herself.
Do we think the Flood's going to spread from two places at once?
Yeah, because the Flood is on Onyx right now, right?
Yeah.
It's been released on Onyx. Does that mean it also gets released on the Halo? And then what does that mean
I
for
think
the
Chief needs to
Gravemind?
fight it on the Halo. I think Chief fights it on the Halo. I think from the way the Monitor talks, we're going to merge into Halo 2 and the Gravemind's on the Halo, and the ring is going to go to Onyx, and then the big, like, scene will be Chief fighting McKee and the Gravemind to stop the ring while Guilty Spark tries to purify the Onyx system whilst the rest of the crew try to get inside to safety. Like, that could be a good season 3.
Well, I could see they could pull in Halo 3 here, right? So if the Flood is overtaking Onyx, the Flood knows where the Halo is because of Parangovsky. So you could see a Flood ship crashing into the Halo at some point. Maybe that's how the Flood spread into the Halo.
You could have that too, yeah. Like, I think it all has to come together somewhere, but I can't see Chief leaving the ring. If you put him on the ring and you take him off the ring again, I'll find you.
Yeah,
and
I
I'll
agree.
have
He's got to
words.
stay there.
Unless they very shortly afterwards or before that establish that there are multiple Halos, in which case you get him off the ring fast because maybe he has to hit multiple other rings at some point as they set up more story. If we have to go ring hopping maybe to hunt for the Ark at some point, or to hunt for Shield Worlds or some other Forerunner type MacGuffin that parallels something from core canon, I think I could see him hopping multiple Forerunner installations pretty regularly.
It's a possibility. Yeah, it all depends on how they want to stretch out the story on the ring, whether that's contained to one season or if that's a multi-season arc. And again, we keep talking about this blending of core canon. Like, it's, yeah, do we combine like what happened on Halo 1, 2, 3, and like Infinite? Like, so it's really, yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of options out there on kind of how they can get into it.
Just about in, but like that space battle didn't end with Chief getting on the ring. Kai took out the cruiser, but like the rest of that battle with the UNSC and the Covenant is still going on. So
yeah,
I could see.
There was a line that that Parangoski said that was like, oh, that was, their flagship is down, now we have a fighting chance, or it's turning the tide of the battle or something. So there was like this throwaway line to kind of say that there's a chance that they're going to win this battle or this engagement. And I think like the visualization of like the different red and green dots, I think there were like more green dots than red dots for their like battle map. So I think it's implying...
Well, we could have that like combat evolved Covenant forces on the ring though.
Oh, right. Well, there was a shot of things entering the atmosphere. So I think Covenant and UNSC forces crash land on the ring and kind of give you a Halo Infinite or even a CE vibe of like different spread out, small groups of survivors for both factions. And, Chief does his Infinite thing to where he drives around and he rallies the Marines and he sets up an outpost and he stops Covenant doing their thing and all that. And I mean, Tom suggested that we kind of lead into more of a Halo Infinite as opposed to a Halo CE timeline of events for season 3, because Infinite's a little bit more relevant in the modern sort of 343 video game because it's the current game. And I can definitely really like that. I think that would be great because it, like, I don't know, again, they're kind of like melding things together, and like I don't know how much I want of them like ring hopping, because it's like, well, they're all more or less the same ring and it's just different conflicts on different rings. Like, why not just have all the conflicts on one ring and just space it out over more than one season? So.
But I do feel like them trying to stop them from firing the Halo for multiple seasons will get a little old.
Well, yeah, true.
Like it was like, oh, we're still doing this. I mean, I do like his point about it's kind of like Halo from Halo CE. When you're on the ring, you're going around and you're saving the different Marines. I feel like that's what they're gonna do, hopefully, and you do that in Halo Infinite too. So I could definitely see that happening, and setting up a base and all this other sort of stuff.
I see us very quickly in this season merging from CE to Halo 2. I could see High Charity ending up here, and we just like roll straight into the end of the season being like the Flood and High Charity. And if we get a season 4, fuck it, we're going to the Ark.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I mean, I think we really need to see how much they dive into the history of it all, like the Forerunners and all that. I think that kind of will help give us an idea of how deep they go down this
push stuff along.
I think with our space battle too, we've got the UNSC thinking that the Covenant fleet is weak. Maybe they're sending in reinforcements, not realizing that first it was the Arbiter's ship going in towards the Halo, and they were being chased by the regular main Covenant now, and the fleet ship, the main capital ship, gets taken out. But now the majority of the Covenant is going to know where the Halo is. They know now.
Yeah.
The whole Covenant knows. It's not just the Arbiter. He didn't sneak to the Halo. So there's going to be more fleets coming at this point. They might send everything they have right behind the UNSC's freshest fleet. And then maybe that fleet gets wiped out. And that's how we start getting all our crashes on the ring.
I have a question, just to switch gears a little bit, and looking at some of the questions that you wrote down, Oran. Chief, I kind of want to hear, Aaron, what you think about his portrayal. You can feel free to talk about the helmet. I'm not as concerned about that, but like how he was portrayed and his motivations and his interactions, and kind of being a little bit of the rebel, kind of doing his own thing. Like, was that on brand for Chief? Or was that too much like this Silver Timeline Chief, where they're portraying him as like, I'm just going to fuck it, I'm going to do what I want, and everybody's against me, and I'm the chosen one?
I feel like it's I feel like it's very on brand for 343 Chief. Like, it's very Hunt the Truthy. Like, this doesn't feel like Bungie Halo 1 2 Chief. This feels like Halo 5, Halo Infinite. This is very much the Master Chief's not listening to fucking anything we tell him, and he does whatever the fuck he likes. And he assigns his own missions, and everyone's blowing a gasket. Like, he's very much that Chief. Like, I don't hate him.
I mean, he's still going for the same, like, the good of humanity is his overall endpoint, and he just sees bigger than the bureaucracy of the UNSC is telling him to act within.
I thought it was a little awkward when he, like, stormed Onyx and was like, I'm gonna fucking kill that Ackerson guy.
Yeah, that was
like
that
that felt off-brand
much
to me. Granted, like, they show the motivations during the season, but then, like, him being chained up in that room by the other Marines and stuff like that, it felt like it felt too rebellious, especially not in the armor. It felt too rebellious when he wasn't in a combat situation. Like, we've seen him be kind of go off and do his own thing, especially with the direction of Cortana in core canon. But in when he's just in his fatigues, going off trying to do whatever he wants in his downtime, that felt a little weird to me.
Yeah, I understood their reasoning for it. I just didn't like it and didn't think it fit with the brand.
Like, I don't hate it all. I think it fits with this Master Chief. Like, he's very much that vibe, but it still feels very like we're still doing the Combat Evolved Fall of Reach storyline, but we've jumped forward 2 decades and we're doing Master Chief has problems with authority at the same time. So, like, it's a little bit weird. I won't lie, I did kind of enjoy Master Chief fucking people up, even if it is very much a Captain America.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Done this, like, there is a lot of fun. I did particularly enjoy when he goes to punch that Marine and his fist can't quite reach, so he drags the Marine's face into it. I was just like, that's a funny moment. I enjoyed that.
I can still appreciate
the
visual spectacle of it.
Yeah, I would have appreciated. I think they need a little bit of the odd funny in this. Like, if Master Chief had have tried to punch that guy and the punch didn't land and he just shrugged and then grabbed him and smashed his head into his fist, like, that would have been like, we need a little bit of Master Chief has a bit of a sense of humor. Like, giant frag grenade Master Chief, in Combat Evolved has a few witty lines, and I'd like to see a little bit of joy in him occasionally. Like,
even every book that you read that has Chief dialogue in it, at one point or another, he makes that one passing comment where, as you're reading or as you're listening, you just go, good one.
Yeah, like this Master Chief is going to die of stress at 55. Like, he's absolutely so wound up about everything, whereas I feel like he needs a little bit of a more, like, the occasional funny moment. So, but I don't think anything they do doesn't fit with what they've set up for this Master Chief. He's a very different guy to the person in Combat Evolved.
I think he could kind of keep changing, though, because I feel like with this season, he was very much motivated about, like, the overall loss and, like, the rupturing of what he's been trying to keep together. Like he wants to keep the team together. He wants to fight the Covenant because they're an existential crisis and all that kind of stuff. But then as the season goes on, he's like, oh, well, the Covenant, like, they're a problem, but, like, there's some internal things that are just that we need to sort out. And, like, his whole Ackerson sort of vendetta and the fact that his team is effectively completely shattered. Like, I think him now being on the ring can now give him a new perspective of what is, like, at stake and what's important, to where, and now that he has Cortana again, I think he can lighten up a little bit.
Yes.
I even think we got just a taste of that on the ring again, when like they had their first appearance. Like, he's welcoming her back and missed her, honestly. And so I think we can kind of have him being a little less, like, stern and closed off.
Their banter, she brings the humor out in
Yes.
And they've teased it plenty of times already.
Yep.
They missed an opportunity for that banter when he's going around the bottom of the base taking those people out, because she had a moment to speak to him. I'm like, she should have kept talking to him the whole way through that scene. Like, he should have been fighting Marines and doing his shit and having quippy banter back and forth with Cortana while he was at it. Like, she should have been speaking to the PA system while he's fighting those Marines, you know, like, watch out behind you, so he could turn around and punch that guy, and she'd go, oh, couldn't quite reach, and then headbutt. Like, they could have easily, like,
creative, something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been nice, yeah.
You know, just things like that. Like, the whole way through that fight, and then, like, going through the rooms going, like, no, not that way, Chief, this way. And then have him and Kai and Cortana, like, trade quips back and forth over the PA system as they go and arrive at the armor and all the rest of it. Like, I just think they need to inject a little bit. It can't be so serious all the time. Like, I know Halo's quite serious, but, like, even Sergeant Johnson knew what the ladies liked. You know, like, you need a little...
There's just a little touch of buddy cop energy that needs to be there. We got it a little bit, like, with those Soren bits earlier in the season, but we're missing it with Chief and our center screen gang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, even in Halo 5, like, Buck manages to bring a few light moments into things. We could...
Buck is great.
Definitely, yeah, a little more Soren personality wouldn't go amiss.
Yeah, I think we'll get there, but you bring up a good point. What do you think? So, speaking of Cortana, what do you guys think of, Oran, maybe you're going to say this, her portrayal, her new look? Maybe you guys covered this during the season earlier, but I finally came to terms with it. It's like, okay, they changed her. I don't think anybody really liked the way she looked right away in season 1, and then we just kind of got used to it. But I feel like as this season went on, I do like this actress, her look, the portrayal of Cortana in this season. We get more of her towards the end of the season, but I like it. I kind of hope that they keep this rendition moving forward.
I kind of wish we just had this rendition from the beginning. I liked the season 1 Cortana. Like, I thought that was fine. It was very different, but I eventually just, like, it just grew on me. And then to have her just be completely different, I was like, okay, well, it just is what it is. Like, I was very quick to accept it.
But they never do, though.
Yeah, and my head
changes between every game.
But in the games, you like, oh, it's a new game. There's better technology. Now she looks better,
It's a new season. They have a different budget. Now she looks different. Let's see what happens next season. She's probably going to look completely different again, and we'll feel weird about it for an episode or two, and then we'll get used to it, and then it'll happen all over again.
Much like them not explaining how McKee survived season 1, I would have preferred more of an explanation of how Cortana got removed from Chief, and I feel like in that moment you could have easily wrote in a line or something that kind of says why she looks different, or how
her code was altered,
something
as they
like that.
her.
Like, I feel like that would have been a very simple way to just kind of say that, and it would have been natural, and then it also helps because it would help give you a little bit more context about John and Chief and how he survived and didn't completely die, that we were led to believe as a possibility if Cortana gets extracted from him.
The simple line of dialogue when she got pulled by Parangosky going, "You're not going to work for me and look like that," and have her swish her arms and change her look would have been enough. Like, Cortana, if you're going to work for me, you're going to look professional.
Something like that.
Yep.
And then Cortana would do it with a little quip back at her.
Yeah. Just her Halsey or Parangosky sitting there going, like, none of this hologram in the strip club look.
That is true, because we don't see. Do we see Cortana before the virtual prostitute person?
No.
Yeah, so that also was a little bit of out of context, because when Chief goes to that I don't know what you really call that virtual brothel, she looks like a Cortana we would get from the games, but in the context of the TV show, you think, oh, well, Cortana doesn't actually look like that. She actually looks a little bit more human and everything. So it would have been, I don't know, maybe a little bit better to kind of get that established first. So then when...
Hold the phone. I'm sorry, because we're talking about fake Cortana in the video booth. Would that not be classified as some sort of AI, to circle back around to our conversation about AI existing within universe?
Maybe.
Yeah, that was an AI. That was like a dumb AI, I think.
Okay, so now we do have some form of multiple AI within this universe. Cortana isn't the only AI.
It's just either a military grade strategist or a prostitute.
Yeah, those are your options. Pick
Those
one.
are the AI implementations
You've
in
got
2552.
Yeah, you've got drone control or Oculus porn, and those are your two choices.
500 years in the future, and mankind's technological priorities have boiled down to war and adult acts.
Yeah.
I do feel this is a little bit of an aside, but like with all of the recent developments in the real world with generative AI and AI, is like, okay, like things are going down a path on AI here, you know, in 2024, like 500 years in the future, I feel like.
A little bit of social commentary.
Yeah, but I'm just saying 500 years in the future, like I feel like a smart AI like what Cortana is going to be way more common. So again, you know, they're playing off of the roots of the core canon, but and they're leaning on AI, smart AI so much in Halo and just in general. It's like we're going to reach a point in like 10, 15 years where it's going to be like, oh, that's not really that big of a deal. But anyway, that's an aside.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cortana's look this season, I have this view that every time I watch through it, it all entirely depends on the environment she's being like displayed in. Some scenes, the model looks great. Like, it doesn't look uncanny valley. It doesn't look like CGI just layered over live action. But then other shots, it doesn't seem to blend well at all. And I think it just entirely depends on the room that they're in. I don't know if it's a lighting thing or just the way they implemented the CG, but I found it varied from scene to scene.
Yeah, I more or less was just fine with it, and I'm just happy that
I didn't notice it too
they're
much.
back together, and like I think it showed us just a little bit of what's to come, kind of in that moment where they're on the, like he survives the fall, he stands up, and then she appears next to him, and they kind of look at each other and talk about, hey, this is what we're doing now. It just I think it was a nice kind of conclusion and like setting up what's coming next. I just kind of wish it happened sooner, but it does make sense that it happened at the end. This kind of reuniting.
Yeah, I think it sets up. You know, season 3 has lots of possibilities, so I'm happy with where they ended. And I actually, the one thing on the ring that I wasn't crazy about, even though it was cool to see, is Chief beating the shit out of the Arbiter. I thought that they could have kept him around a little bit longer, and they'll probably replace him, which would make sense within canon, but I felt like they could have saved that.
It was a great fight to watch, though. Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting because it seems like the way they designed this Halo, they pulled a lot of Infinite art styling for it. And we see that Chief has his grapple shot here. So it's another instance of cool kind of timeline blending. But I loved the way that he used the grapple shot in combat for that hand-to-hand combat. That was so sweet.
Agreed.
And then the showrunners did a great job of putting that Sanghelia honor on display as Chief was finishing off the Arbiter, that little last bit of speech that he had.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was great. It was a perfect fitting way to send the character off, even if we did want the character to stick around for a while longer. Like, I wanted to, give the salute and be like, respect as he gets taken out.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was a good kind of a climactic ending to that fight and really gave it more purpose, I think, and more meaning. So, and who knows who will be the big baddie coming forth in season 3, whether it's Atriox or somebody else or something, but
if we get more elites and they have the honor like that, oof.
Maybe it's going to be like a Super Sentinel, right? Because 343 is in the mix.
Oh, don't remind me.
Well, now that we're kind of getting to the tail end of our discussion, to kind of get towards the end of it, I just want to kind of ask, like, are there favorite moments this season, favorite characters this season, just maybe favorite overall episode? Just kind of want to go around, maybe to start with Steve, like, and like, what would you say your favorite episode was, or just overall character you liked the most during season 2, and that you either want to see more of, or you're happy with what we saw with them in season 2?
Well, I don't think I have a particularly favorite episode because all the episodes were up and down in their own ways. I kind of cherry-picked moments from each episode that I love. But generally speaking, I think the action, all of it this season was pretty fantastic. Even the out-of-armor combat one of the great moments was Lewis taking on the Wraith.
Yeah.
And just his little bit of, in general, blind Spartan combat. I was so down for that, popping grenade shots up onto the balcony
that was
to take
pretty cool.
out groups of elites. That was great. It was a nice little way to introduce a new character, give us some cool stuff, and then get rid of him so we can move on with the story. If we get more bits like that in the future where we get tastes of the lore sprinkled into side characters that overall aren't majorly important, it gives us a nice exposition into the lore, and I'm happy with it. I want to see more real Halo stuff now. We're on the ring. I'm looking forward to where that goes. I don't know if I have any new characters that I'm looking forward to see what they do. I'm always thrilled with Soren. Anything with Soren, I'm great at. I'm down to see more Soren stuff. And I'm curious to see if we get Ackerson getting captured and screwing with the Covenant in the future. Do we get a Silver Timeline version of him sending them to Ohio just to fuck with them? That'd be cool.
Well, assuming we even go to Earth in the Silver Timeline, I don't think they've even really mentioned Earth, but now that Reach is gone, maybe they will.
They mentioned Earth as far as artifacts and props, and that's basically it. Earth is good for props. Yeah.
Remember this Xbox?
The tea and the stuff in the antique shop.
Yeah.
The axe.
This tea's from a little place called India.
I thought that scene specifically was a little awkward. I mean, I get it, but it was also like, oh shit, coming in here,
been the
and then we're going to take 5 minutes to talk to this lady in the shop. But
I'm still upset that Parangosky's tea didn't have ginger nuts.
I completely agree with you. On that.
That was one easy nod to fans, and they couldn't even go and get a packet of ginger nuts.
They've been doing so well with keeping Parangosky on brand throughout this entire series, and then they do that.
Colin, what about you? Sort of favorite moments, favorite episodes, characters, or something?
I really liked Ackerson. I really did. His portrayal, the actor, I think nailed him. Like, he was a guy that you were like, who the fuck is this guy? That you hated, and then in what was it, episode 2 or 3, when they show him with his dad.
Oh yeah,
and then they tie in his great. Sister. Like that really got me. And I know that wasn't like Halo action stuff, but that felt like some really good
character development.
Right? Like, now, okay, we have this character who is very career driven, and I'm gonna do it my own way, and I have my own my own. We talked about the Spartan 3s being something that he did, but then here's a little bit of the softer side of things. Here's some more motivation as to why he hates Halsey, all this sort of stuff, and you start to kind of, when they show him in jail at the end and Soren taking him, I think they need him, right, to kind of his expertise and his knowledge and all that sort of stuff. But it also is like, you can't leave him in there. He's too good of a character, and they'll probably kill him off eventually. But his introduction, I thought, was really good. I'm excited to see what they do with him moving forward. So those are kind of some of the peaks. I liked the action, like Steve said. Some of it was high, some of it was low. But him, the fact that he exists in this Silver Timeline makes it really intriguing to see what they do moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad they kept him around, because I do think he has a lot more to do, and I think they used them very effectively, and they gave him a bit of the redemption that I think he needed so he can at least make it out alive for this season. And I agree. Yeah, exactly. And especially with the way they're kind of deconstructing the UNSC and kind of moving the story more towards the Ring and the Flood, and I guess whatever Covenant conflict we have, the inter-politicking of the UNSC is kind of, that story's been told over these past 2 seasons. So I'm interested to see how Ackerson is then utilized, without that being a backdrop for him.
Well, the interactions too, those early interactions with him and Chief, those are so good. I really like those. I love the line where it's like, "Do you eat?" More or less being kind of dismiss. He was respectful of who he was, but he was also I'm the man. And he was going he went nose to nose with Chief on some arguments. It's I don't care if you could crush me. I'm the authority here, so you better back down. And that dynamic was really well done.
Yeah, I really liked his his interactions with Kai as well, because just like how he kind of manipulated Kai in a way because she wanted to do more and wanted to be purposeful, but also is loyal to the chief, and so he kind of slowly broke her down over the course of those episodes until eventually he was able to put her in his pocket and then be the one that trains the Spartan 3. So like their relationship, I really enjoyed seeing that on the screen as well.
It was very Oni.
Yes.
I liked how they did go back and forth with Oni and ONI too. I thought that was good.
Aaron, what about you? Favorite character, episode, moments, things of that nature in season 2?
I can't name you a favorite episode. I genuinely, they all sort of merge into one. I don't know if that's a reflection. I think it probably is of like the general quality. There's no standout episode in this for me. In terms of character, I think my favorite and like my best character are different. I think, like you guys said, Ackerson's probably like the best character this season, but I think my favorite this season is Soren. I like Soren. I like his vibe. I like his personality.
Soren.
He gets a cool moment where he gets to fight shit and do stuff and like actually be a badass. And I think to me, he fills that role of like a good character that Kai did in season 1. Like in season 1, she is by far the single best character on screen, and Miranda's a close second. Like their whole interactions, everything that's going on is brilliant. I think this season it's Soren. I think Ackerson's really, really good. I want to see more of him. I'd like it if he didn't die. I think we could do something fun with that, considering we've murdered everyone else that outlived him.
Maybe we get to have Soren just be Ackerson's little, guy in the shadows, guy on the streets doing stuff for him. That could be a cool dynamic between the two of them in the future.
Yeah, I'd love them to be like, if we could just make Soren and Ackerson like a buddy cop duo, I would be pretty okay with that. Like,
Soren's the secret Oni mercenary.
Yeah, like I would be okay with the two of those pairing together and working away. I think that would be quite cool. My most disliked thing about this season, and I think it's this entire show, why are they afraid to make Halsey smart? What's wrong? Why? Halsey does not seem like the most intelligent human that's ever lived and created the Spartans and done everything else. There's just something about this Halsey.
We just forget I'm on this collapsing bridge.
Yeah, I'm going to freeze and not move. You're like, I trust your daughter to build the Spartan 2s before I trust you, Halsey. Like, there's something, like,
she's
maybe
too
she hit her
aloof,
head
maybe?
at the end of season 1, but she does not seem like, I feel like they're afraid because 343 went too far with Smart Halsey to the point where she overpowered a contender class AI with the the hacking abilities.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they
And they've
really
gone,
push the envelope with that one.
yeah, and they're going, we need to dial her back a wee bit, so we've hit her in the back of the head with a hammer and we've sent her out into the silver timeline. So, like, I just feel like sometimes she's an idiot.
I have a really stupid theory. What if it's not really Halsey? What if she made a better clone of herself and that's what got captured and real Halsey's out there somewhere?
Gosh,
and it's not real Halsey that got infected, and that's why this Halsey's such a dumbass, because it's an imperfect clone.
It's always a good get out clause. Like, although I feel like we've spent too much time this season establishing that the clones die, like,
Pretty quickly.
I can totally see it being, oh no, we have to get Mum, she's in the cryo tube, and they go, actually, your mother's been over here all along making super clones. Isn't this fantastic?
She's been making the real Spartan 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, on that end of things, like, that's the thing I sort of dislike the most.
I do think that there was a disconnect between the Halsey of season 1 and the Halsey of season 2. So I agree that like something just quite wasn't right or consistent.
She should be the one leading the way all the time. She should be the badass, I feel like, even if she's being like thick about it. Whereas she's not really this season so much.
We need her and Miranda to both be smart. She needs to be a bit smarter, and Miranda needs to be like picking up and learning, and then have Halsey like G-check her a little bit once in a while, like actually, and then be her little snide super genius self.
I need Miranda to come into season 3 and basically be Rambo in that underground bunker. I need her to be like The Walking Dead. She's going to move through this place and just like nerf flood forms all over the show and fight her way out. and she's going to be the ultimate badass. Like, that's what I want from this season.
She makes a super soldier serum for herself.
She's going to open a cupboard, find a suit of Spartan 3 armor, gear up, and just like fight her way out there.
Or maybe she gets some sort of like Forerunner power armor and like finds Covenant or finds Forerunner weapons and maybe it fights her way out with the assistance of like Sentinels. Like think if she like just grabs a binary rifle that's like the length of her and she's like whipping that thing around and disintegrating Flood. That'd be cool.
If we combine her with Anders and just have her like be the Forerunner expert,
I'm down with that.
and do that, but that would be cool. We need more Miranda time. She got criminally little this season, so
That's a good segue into what I was going to say is my least favorite aspect of this season, I think, is how they utilized Miranda. Like I would have, like I missed Miranda like for the first half of the season, and then I just kind of got used to her not being there for when she finally appeared. I was like, oh great, but then like it's already over at that point. So like I would have much rather get more of Miranda and kind of see what she was working on. I don't think there would have been any loss than mystery of having her have screen time earlier in the season to kind of develop a little bit of what she's working on. So then when the big aha moment finally did come, like it would have just felt so much stronger because we've been rooting for her to solve whatever puzzle she's trying to solve. So I definitely want to see more of Miranda because I really liked what she was doing in season 1 and was just kind of sad that she was only in the last 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like her, again, her portrayal, like the actor being like kind of cocky, right? Like she's very innocent and like kind of weak to start, but then she gets to the point where it's like, hell yeah, like Halsey, I figured this.
Yeah,
shit
you know what? I'm
right?
smart
Like,
too. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And with Miranda being our foremost Forerunner expert at this point, how do we feel about Quan now? Because she's kind of the flip side of that coin with the sort of historical knowledge of the Flood, so to speak.
As long as it's like explained.
Yeah.
That was my biggest gripe with Quan this whole season was that like they just didn't tell us what was going on with Quan until the final moment where she's like with the Earth Mother about it to being infected, and it's just like that. There should have been more seeds planted for that because the seeds that were planted were too fragmented and too mysterious, and it's just like again like I don't see the issue with telling us more but still keeping the mystery. Like it seemed that they were just playing all of the cards too close to their chest, and then when they finally revealed it all at the end, it was like, okay, well now I have to connect some of these dots to make it makes sense instead of you connecting the dots for me naturally through the progression of the character's arc and the story. So I think it'd be great if like they're working together and we learn more about this Gayish that Quan has and her connection to their ancestors and all that. But honestly, I was expecting to get that this season because of what was set up in season 1. So
I think they need to fine-tune her character just a little bit. She's a little bit of a wild card, jack of all trades right now.
She's a Swiss Army knife right now.
she's whatever the story needs for whatever scene that they're trying to do, and they just make it work for her. She's so inconsistent in that regard. And she's like literally a murderer. Like she's like 16 and like that her whole transformation happens between seasons, and it's like, okay, cool. We didn't get to see any of that, so we're just going to accept that this is the character she is now.
Picture it now in season 3 when she knows how to speak Sangheili and negotiate with the Covenant to get Soren's ship out of the system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
And then she ends up being a banished spy or some shit.
Yeah. Who knows? A character we haven't really talked about that I just kind of want to end on. I think my favorite character is Kai, but I think a character I wasn't expecting to like so much from the beginning of the season all the way to the now end was Perez. Because in the beginning of the season, I kind of found her just to kind of being a one-dimensional character that just had some PTSD, and Chief was just kind of talking to her. But then after the Fall of Reach episode, and then as we saw more of her on Onyx, and then as a Spartan 3 and her relationship with Kai, and then now her kind of injury and survival at the end, like I think she had quite the arc that really that really hit me watching the season, to where I think I'm most excited to see what happens to her coming into season 3. Because I think there's a lot of potential that they can give her. There's a lot of like fan speculation with her being like the next Sarah Palmer, and that would be pretty cool, and kind of taking up Kai's role if Kai doesn't return or something. So I really liked Perez, and I thought she was a good addition, and she brings just a kind of different flavor to the cast, and I'm excited to see where we go with her.
I like her, but I also feel like they may just not bring her back for the next season. I guess I didn't think they were gonna carry her forward, but maybe they will.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like they could do the same sort of thing they did with Riz, where like she's recovering from her injuries because she had a pretty bad plasma wound. But I don't know. I feel like
Just don't give us the same story arc again.
yeah, exactly. Just don't give us the same story, and she can maybe she gets some type of Spartan injection to help her heal, and then that gives her more Spartan-like abilities, so then she can be this augmented Spartan 3 that helps lead whatever resistance, or maybe she goes ringside and does things on the ring to support Chief. Like, that would be good, because also the Chief and Perez relationship also is really strong, so I think kind of nurturing that some more on the battlefield, on the ring, for whatever conflicts they have for season 3. I think there's a lot of possibility there, but I mean, if they just kind of write her out, I would be a little disappointed.
That would suck. I mean, you don't forget, Perez started out literally, she was a communications outpost officer. Like,
Yeah.
Chief shows up and they are all firing at him and they all miss, and he's like, I know your comms because of your shooting. And then she goes through this whole arc and becomes a full badass Spartan, like has a plasma blast in her side. It's like, I can still fight.
Yeah, she's like,
I don't see us getting the Riz retirement feeling after that.
No.
As long as they have a place for whatever's left of the Spartan 3 program, I think we're going to get some badass Perez in the future, and I look forward to it, because she came into that role, came into that position that they put her in, and portrayed a good Spartan attitude, if not, us not getting an appearance of any type of augmentation or special abilities. The attitude was there. The Spartan mindset was there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And to your point about Chief's little line, we were saying how he doesn't really have comedic timing and all that, but that was one of the funniest things he said, was like, yeah, I know you guys are comms based on your shooting, which was like, ooh, that was low, but it was pretty good. All right, well, to kind of wrap things up, we are going to have an episode where we dive more into, I guess, season 3 predictions. I know we kind of went down that road a little bit in this episode, and we'll kind of continue going down that road in this next episode. But in case one of you 3 aren't on that episode, because I'm not sure what the schedule is going to make out to be, but for our kind of closing remarks here on season 2, what would be one element from core canon that is currently not in the Silver Timeline, or maybe just barely in the Silver Timeline, that you want developed or implemented into season 3?
I'd say I'm looking for that Key's proto-grave mine moment. Like, we kind of maybe have it right now, because we sort of see what happens to Parangovsky, but we don't really see what happens. But that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Colin?
I think they need to some more exposition or revelations around the Forerunners. I think that will come with 343 Guilty Spark, and how, because right now there's not really much of that happening. It's more like, hey, military fighting aliens, and we need to see more about the kind of the greater storyline, right? I feel like there needs to be a moment where it's like, oh, we're just humans and we're this small little piece of the story where all this other stuff was happening. So I know they're touching on that here at the end of the season, but I feel like they need to bring that forward now.
Okay. Aaron?
Okay. For season 3, I think we just skip the Proto-Grave Mine stage. We go straight to Halo 2, Little Shop of Horrors, and we get, I want full big grave mine giving ridiculous long speeches to the Master Chief, and then slaughtering everyone in High Charity. Just, if we need to know how scary the Flood is, I want to see big, scary tentacle mouth just causing havoc and terrifying people. I think that's probably the way to go if we accelerate this timeline.
Well, I was also thinking that the Flood will probably only be in this season. Like, I feel like they're gonna solve the Flood problem in season 3.
Oh no.
I think we get the Flood problem as a majority eradicated, and they leave some little seedlets out there that they can pull from later. Like the grave mind still kind of sub-exists amongst a little bit of mass.
I think we accelerate this puppy and we end up at like the Ark by season 4. If we turn around in season 3 and Onyx turns out to be the portal to the Ark and we never see the light, like we never encounter Earth, I could see it going that way. Like if the surface of Onyx crumbles into a giant ring and High Charity flies through it covered in Flood tentacles and we end up at the Ark and Chief and Atriox end up doing the buddy cop fucking arbiter moment and save the universe, like nothing would surprise me at this point. Like we've gone that all over the show with the bits we're poaching from the timeline and where we go.
I just feel like they're going to have to be careful leaning too much into the horror aspect of the Flood. Because we got some of that in this last episode, but that's going to turn some people away.
Yeah, they can't push the envelope too far because they kind of have to keep it, I think, tame enough to keep a general audience as opposed to really going like Sam Raimi,
I think,
like horror and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The Covenant threat also needs to end at some point.
Yeah, I think the Covenant thread ends with High Charity, but fuck it, let's make this the thing. Let's have all sorts of mad shit and just to hell with it. Like, people get in here for the Halo, like, people go into Halo for the sci-fi and people leave with the Flood, you know. You've got to take them on this journey with us and be like, oh, Space Marines shoot the big purple-blooded aliens, this is so much fun, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like, just let's go for it, you know. Flood forms are going to open up and spew running heads with tentacles on them and they're going to attack Master Chief. Like, just, we'll go full batshit crazy.
Everybody needs to experience what we experienced as small children playing the library the first time.
Oh, I appreciate that you said small children and not rather old teenagers.
Well, really, the first level we see the Flood is actually 343 Guilty Spark, where we go down into, and then that's where the game changes, and you're like, what am I playing?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and the library is just pure panic and stress and fear after that.
Oh, can I also change my answer and say faux hammer? Can I have a faux hammer, please?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Faux hammer would be great.
Space taxi.
I hope they don't try and make like Quan or somebody into faux hammer at this point.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, did you not know that Quan can fly a pelican too?
I mean, she can fly everything else at this point.
Yeah, I can't wait to see her fly the next Covenant cruiser as well.
Or Perez. What if Perez goes faux hammer?
I'd be okay with that.
No, I want Perez to survive. I don't want her to faux hammer that way.
Well, they could always keep her alive that way, but
also we're not getting a faux hammer. Let's be honest. It'll be McKee flying a ship, or it'll just be that. She'll team up with him and fly around the place.
Quan is just in the Matrix, and they just download her new skills every other episode.
She'll be the created. She'll upload herself to the domain. It'll be fine. Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
She finally gets injured for the first time and she doesn't bleed. It's actually that she's got a robot construct arm or something, and turns out, oh, she's been part of the domain this whole time.
So we do have some listener input that I teased at the beginning of the show that I just want to read off. Matt from our Discord wanted to know where the Sanshayum are. He says that does the show even acknowledge their existence? And then later in the chat, someone said, well, bro, did you see season 1? And he was like, oh, yeah. But to that effect, though, season 2 is very little, if any, Sanshayum. And I think we've even talked about this earlier, that like the role of the actual Covenant, I think, has kind of been pushed into the background this season. And I think we kind of also said that we see a continuation of that into season 3. Like, are we okay with kind of this interpretation of the Human Covenant War and kind of, I guess, seeing the more tail end of it as we invite new conflict like the Flood, and we're on the Ring and the Forerunners and all that kind of stuff? Or is there still Covenant stories that we still need to get that we haven't gotten yet?
They can still give us a Halo 2 moment with the explanation of why the Covenant exists and stuff like that. I feel like they can still fold that in. I don't know if it's necessary, but they could do it.
I mean, they did touch on a little bit of like artifacts in season 1 and like that, how they have a luminary to look for things. And so they could explore something where we start learning about the Forerunners and what these artifacts actually do and the purpose of the ring. And I think we can get, like you said, a Halo 2 sort of instance where they talk about the Great Journey, and it's about, well, what is the Great Journey? It's like, oh, well, it's actually the firing of the ring, so we can't allow the Great Journey to happen. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there is still things left to be told to where they can incorporate that into.
I think more than anything, if not the stories that need to be told, we at least need to have some sort of come to closing with it, some sort of final confrontation after having the Prophets get set up as the bad guys that they were in season 1. We need that kind of closure. We can't just have them like fade away with no explanation or just be in the background, not really contributing much either way.
Yeah. All right. So we have another question from DeSudo. He said that Parangoski is plant food, which we all kind of agree with, I think. And Ackerson escaped. So he's curious if we think that the writers will bring in somebody else to be the commander-in-chief at Oni, or are they going to have Ackerson kind of take that role? He also says, is it too much to ask for Osmond to come in and to take that role? So I guess, what do we think the future of Oni is? Or is Oni kind of falling into the wayside for the coming season because of how they've kind of deconstructed it over this last episode?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in the background. I mean, I think we want it to be there, but yeah, like Parangoski's dead, and now Ackerson's like a rogue.
I guess the real question is, how many other Oni facilities existed that were populated by Oni staff outside of the Onyx facility?
Yeah.
Is there more Oni? And if so, do they have any way of knowing that Parangovsky and everyone at that facility is plant food at this point? They might just be like, we stopped hearing from them. We don't know what happened.
Yeah,
I could see some like Oni Black Ops showing up at some point in season 2, and they're like, yeah, we know everything. We're here to help a little bit. So
I think at best, I think Oni sort of drifts into the background. I think they'll still exist as an entity, and there will still, in theory, be someone in charge of them. But I think at the most you get one face of the UNSC for the season, and it'll be like a admiral stand-in, because we need like our sort of Lord Hood, Johnson-y Keys role for this, and it'll be someone like that. Like whatever comes in this season, like there's no real Black Ops to be done now. It's like we need things to blow up and we need fighting to be done. So I think if we get anyone, it'll be like an admirally hoodie sort of a,
we need an authority face for humanity outside of Chief and main characters.
And that's all we'll get. I think like Oni will still exist. They're not dead with Parangoski dying. There probably will be an Osmond-y type person, but we'll never see them. Or they'll just give it to Ackerson because he's the only one left. And like our gritty cigar smoking admiral will be like, son, you'll do the job. Go. Something like that. Because there seems to be no other fucking chain of command in this universe, really.
Well, that actually...
Speaking of missing, though...
We get those glimpses of Board, and that's about it.
Speaking of missing, are we missing Johnson? Does Johnson come to screen, come to the light in this next season?
I don't want him in this show. Because I feel like
too cringy.
They can't do it right.
Yeah, they're not. I just don't have faith that they're gonna do it in a way that will like it. And I feel like Johnson is just perfect in the games and in Contact Harvest, and it's just like I think you just let him. I think that's just the one thing you don't bring in. If there was one core canon thing I don't want them to bring in, it would be Johnson.
That's interesting, huh? There's a lot of people I'm sure that want him.
As much as I would like to see Johnson, it would turn it into a comedy.
But they want Halo 2 Johnson in there. When you look at Halo 2 Anniversary, they upped his visuals and they kept the dialogue, and like it's all just beautiful and amazing. But like if as soon as you put just whatever actor in there doing his interpretation of Johnson, I just don't have faith that it'll live up to the fans' expectation, and then everyone's gonna hate it. And that's just a dialogue I don't really want to hear, and I agree, or I believe that I won't like it as well. Like I just don't think he would capture the same way, and so I think you just let it be.
Johnson's character is kind of based on a lot of old tropes. He's more of a caricature than a character. As great as he is, as awesome of a role as he plays in the Halo lore, I think trying to bring that to TV screen, nobody's going to do it right without it coming off as like a joke almost.
Yeah. So,
that's interesting to hear you
hear
guys
me
say
out.
that. Yeah.
I have an alternative character suggestion that can fill the role. Chips to both.
Yes.
I'd be okay with Chips.
We don't touch Johnson.
Long
we
live
just
Chips.
bring Chips in.
Chips would be good.
Sure. Yeah. I bet you there'll probably be a nod to him. There hasn't been yet.
So the last question, and I think this also kind of piggybacks off of the other question a little bit that we started to beat around the bush for, but Master Beef asks, is there going to be any acknowledgement of Earth? Because one of the biggest plot motivations in the games was that after Reach, Earth is like humanity's last stronghold, and to kind of say and think about who's going to be the next commander-in-chief of Oni, I mean, really, if there is somebody, it's probably some Oni brass that's at Earth in Sydney at least the core canon's headquarters of Oni. And so I feel like that's a way you can, I guess, introduce Earth and make it a little bit more in the forefront, as opposed to just being where all the relics come from in Oriental tea. And then you're able to have this character kind of come back. So we'll, I guess, wait and see what happens with Earth, if it ever gets acknowledged beyond that.
I think they're going to have to, though.
At some point, right?
Like, you got to next season, especially because Reach is fallen. That's going to have to be, okay, well, we were protecting humanity. Well, where's humanity? Humanity's on Earth and other planets, but that'll resonate with the audience, I feel like, the most.
I bet you we never even see a sniff of Earth. Not even a trace of it. Our new UNSC character will be on a ship or a space station, and you won't even see it out of a window. We're just like, it's going to be like Dune. We're just going to be like, it's in theory a thing. We just.
All right, I'm writing this down. A year or two from now, we're another season or two in. See what happens.
I mean, I think it could be interesting if, much like Halo 3, where they bring the fight to Earth, like you do your ring conflict and we do whatever stories we tell, but then you take it back to Earth, and there's a home front conflict, and then now they can film in whatever big city or something, and they might, maybe they change the production value a little bit. They save some money here or there, so they're not always building things in a stage in Budapest. So like, I definitely think that there's some opportunities to do a Halo 3 and keep some of the fighting here on Earth if they go down that route, but they'd have to set it up and build to that, of course. So. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. It would be interesting though if they do what Aaron said and they just don't even do anything. That'd be bold.
And I think each faction needs a homeworld representation for stakes, the same way that they each need a face to represent their motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, what are we fighting for? Well, we're not fighting for Reach anymore, but now we're fighting for Earth, I guess.
Right, the Covenant have high charity in the Halo.
But I don't know. I think they could still make like the catalyst of the loss of Reach being the motivation to continue to fight. That like, oh, well, our homeworld's now lost and dead. Like, and they tried to do that with Quan, with Madrigal being glass, but they didn't develop that well enough. But in theory, they could give you that motivation because they've already lost it.
Soren's going to fight for love. That's it. That's all we need.
Soren's gonna fight so he can show his son how to become a real Spartan.
Oh God, yeah. The wife's not there to tell him not to do that.
Yeah,
now.
I'm interested what they do with Kessler.
She told him, she's like, I was wrong. You need to be strong. She's like, it was wrong for me to tell you he can't do this the whole time when she was slamming the door on him.
He's going to drop Kessler off with Riz. Riz is going to be the caretaker.
And Riz is going to teach him the ways. Like, yeah.
And yes, we cut to a montage of him just like punching trees, and
Like
doing all
Karate
sorts of shit.
Kid, or
It's going to be the
Kill Bill.
Karate Kid,
exactly.
yes.
Like killing flies with chopsticks. Let's go.
Standing on top of a log coming out of the water.
Season 5 Halo, and the sun saves everyone.
Give him some augmentations and some armor, and I'm fucking down. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, we'll save that little nugget for our season 3 predictions episode. But gentlemen, I think we've reached the end of our retrospective look of season 2 of the Halo TV show. 2 hours of discussions here, and I want to just...
It's been a great journey.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was a great conversation that we're going to just continue to have, I'm sure. I mean, it took 2 years for us to get the second season. Hopefully it doesn't take us 2 years to get season 3, but, you know, it just might with the high budget of this show and the nature of things. So Colin, Steve, and Aaron, thank you guys so much for joining me on another episode of Halo TV Plus.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2 of Halo the series are now streaming in full on Paramount Plus. So if you've missed anything or wanted to rewatch or do that binge watch, they are all available to you on Paramount Plus. If you're looking for some behind-the-scenes content, we mentioned it earlier in this show, Sydney Goodman hosts the Halo the Series Declassified, which interviews cast and some producers like Kiki Wolfkill about the show in each episode. You can check those out if you haven't already. They're about 15 minutes or so. They move really quickly, and most of them are really, really good and interesting with what they show and what the cast members sort of shed some light on the scenes and episodes that they filmed.
Yeah, recommended. Check it out.
Alex Wakeford also releases his Silver Debriefing blogs on Halo Waypoint. If you haven't checked those out, you can read them over there on halowaypoint.com. Those are, I think, a little less informative than maybe the Declassifieds. They recap every episode, but there always is a nugget or two that you kind of do get that you don't get from the actual episode, as well as some core canon context. Like he talks about the monitors in one, he talks about the creation of the Flood in another. So there is some value to reading those, and those read pretty quickly as well. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find every episode to all of the shows that Evolved produces at evolvedhalo.co or halopodcast.com. Don't forget to check us out on our social media platforms. We have Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Once again, another special shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing and being a patron to keep our lights on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It was much appreciated.
If you like our show, you can rate us and leave a review. We greatly appreciate all the feedback that we receive from our listeners and the quality of our show. You can leave us a voicemail at 205-EVOLVED, 205-386-5833. You can also leave us an email if you want to participate in the conversation. Email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com. And then we're going to try to sync this up now. All right, everybody ready? I've been your host, Oran, and until next time, evolve!
Evolved.